I feel like I've become a more perfect union hate watcher, and I really don't want to be. But every time I watch one of their videos, I end up disagreeing with the framing, even though they agree with me on a lot of stuff. I do want to see this because I feel like it has the potential to upset me, which, right, obviously is more compelling. Oh yeah, this one? Oh, is it known? Did you watch this and think, oh, he'd get mad at this?
Just say I was at all soybeans and $150 an acre loss. You're looking at $450,000 a loss. For just doing my job, I'm paying an additional $450,000 instead of making anything. I've never seen a crisis like this. Without intervention, we're talking about generational
more tax dollars to you guys, huh?
loss of farmers.
In the last year, farm bankruptcies here in Arkansas have nearly doubled. The story in the media is that's because of Trump's trade war with China. And now that China has agreed to a deal, the crisis will pass.
Well, China has agreed to take some of our soybeans, but not a lot. Like, not as much as before.
But that story is wrong.
Oh.
The tariffs are a problem, but think of it as being in a coffin, and we're going to nail the lid shut. The tariffs are the final nail.
This crisis was here before he did the tariff thing. This is a crisis that's been building for decades.
Sure, but the tariff thing was pretty big, man. I mean, yeah, it's always a multi-variable problem, but it's...
Here told us a bigger story.
Let's not downplay the involvement of Trump here. He did hit the big red button that makes everyone poorer and stupider, you know?
Full of companies have built a global system in which they always win, and American farmers are lucky to break even, all supported by our tax dollars.
They're just laundering tax money. None of it stays in the local community.
And while our farmers are dependent on growing crops for countries like China, we import more of our food than ever.
The bigger story is
Yes, because of comparative advantage. There are countries that can produce more food than us for cheaper because of the lower wages over there. That's how it works. We do it with a lot of stuff, not just agriculture.
very vulnerable to the whims of other countries.
With thousands of farmers on the brink, we wanted to know, how did this happen? And if a deal with China won't save American farmers, what will?
Farm to Tabor had on YouTube has some good takes on these chuds and why we actually need their farms to fail. I mean, I want their farms to fail because they keep hitting the big red button that kills themselves and me. I'm not going to lie. Not all of them. Kowalski, I see you there. Yes, you're very good. But a lot of them do really enjoy hitting that button.
Watch the markets every morning at 5:45. I get up and listen to Standard Grain. And Joe says it's 5:45 in the morning and the markets are.
Scott Brown is a row crop farmer who grows corn, rice, and soybeans.
I want to know what the price of soybeans is, how much we've exported this week.
The price of soybeans hit a high of $17 a bushel 3 years ago.
Ooh.
But this year, it's down to $10. That means many farmers will operate at a loss, but not just for soybeans.
So for cotton, soy, corn, and rice, the average loss per acre is $150 to $350 per acre.
Adam Chappell farms 2,400
Again,
acres.
like, this is just basic economics. I'm in favor of keeping agricultural development in America because I think it's a little bit kind of unsound national security wise to just give up on farming in America and let all of that land grow fallow just because for now we're the trade hegemon. What happens if America goes broke and in 100 years we're kind of like on par with with like a poorer country? We would want that land being used. We wouldn't want to go, oh, we forgot we need to produce food here. Like, I'm okay with that. Just stop doing everything at a market rate. If these industries can't survive on the open market, then they shouldn't be privately owned. This should all be government owned. And these guys can be farmers and they can own their house like a normal person. They can own their private, their personal property. But yeah, if your farms can only operate and exist and compete under the, I guess, wing of government production, then that should be how it is. If it's a national security concern, why shouldn't the government run it, right? Like,
about 2 hours from Scott. In September, Adam and Scott attended a meeting called
Employ the farmers? Yes. And pay them well. Farming is a difficult job. I have nothing but respect for the actual physical work it takes to run a farm. They should be given wide variety of opportunities and access to, this crop rotation. I don't know if they want the soy or they want the corn, whatever they want, sure. But remove the risk. Stop having a farmer every day wake up and be like, oh, I hope that soy isn't trading at less than $11 a bushel. That's up. Have the government handle it. Your job is to tend to the farm. You're not a individual business person who has to make business decisions about how to leverage your product. Your job is to produce the food. Isn't that what farmers should be doing? Not open market gambling on
for farmers to speak to their federal representatives.
Hundreds of farmers from across the state came to voice their concerns about the current state of farming.
It was a three-day notice on this meeting. We went from having 15 to 20 people to over 500.
We were in the start of harvest for 500 farmers to get off.
Sure, but you have to reduce how much farming you do. The reason we do too much farming is because of animal agriculture, which we need to cut way the down on, or ideally get rid of entirely, because the vegans are right and we're doing a chicken holocaust every 8 minutes or something. For sure. You could feed all of America and more with a tiny fraction of the agricultural land that we use if we just stopped producing so much alfalfa or whatever. Yeah. There are lots of changes that need to be made for sure, 100%. But I still think it should all be run by the government. And I think it should be cushy, by the way. If you are working for the government as a farmer, to me, that's a job you should be, that should be a vocation that is secure and well compensated, because it's tough and you have to live outside the city. Usually you have to live outside the city. There's a lot of very specific stuff you're responsible for. You have to be up at 5 in the morning or whatever. There's a lot of stuff you have to do that most people would not have to do as a product of their work. And I think you should be fairly compensated for that. I think your life should be, you should have Lambos in the garage.
Combines and go stand in a meeting is a big deal.
It was like a funeral in there. This is generations of farms teetering on the brink.
I'm in the worst shape right now that I've ever been in.
5 of my customers have committed suicide.
Less beef means less leather for fancy boots and shoes. I've got good news. We have so much more potential leather than we know what to do with. If we use the whole hide of every cow that gets slaughtered for meat, we would have a bajillion times as much leather as we need. Overwhelmingly, the cows are being killed for the meat, not the leather, It's just, there's only so much leather you can tan over at Horween or whatever.
That's how serious that is.
Without immediate government intervention, we're going to lose 30 to 40% of our farmers again this year. We lost 25 to 30% last year.
Farm debt is expected to reach $560 billion this year, a new record high. Facing pressure from farm states, President Trump has promised a federal aid package for farmers.
And we're going to take some of that tariff money that we made, we're going to give it to our farmers.
Over the last 8 years, the federal government has sent farmers over $130 billion in emergency aid.
See, this is just stupid. If either run them, let the government own them or not. What is it? I hate this shit where it's oh, no. Well, yeah, the industry can only exist if the government gives them $1 bajillion. And no, the farmers aren't doing anything differently than what they would be doing if they were run by the government, basically. But yeah, we'll just give them the money. How are we incentivizing them to do a good job with their farms if the money that they're getting is not largely from the production of the farms, but rather from the subsidies? You're creating a negative feedback loop. You're basically making it you're turning being a farmer into a welfare system where, oh, it's not about whether or not you made the corn, buddy. It was about whether you tried. No, why doesn't the government just manage it? Turn it into a regular job.
But when you follow where that money actually goes, it reveals who's really profiting from this system and why more bailouts won't fix it.
So when I get an aid package, okay, that money will never come to me. It comes straight through my hands into whoever I owe the money to.
When federal money is sent to farmers who have debts, like Adam, Scott, and most small farmers, they quickly pass it on to the companies they borrowed from to buy the products they need to farm, like seed, fertilizer, and machinery. And the combined costs of those inputs have risen far faster than what farmers can sell their crops for on the market. Farmers pay 3 times higher on inputs.
The video's messaging is effectively running cover for the Trump admin, though. I agree. I really don't like this third way bullshit, more perfect union polls sometimes. They keep interviewing Trump voters and then trying to reassure them, no. It wasn't your fault you chose the, lunatic fascist who said he wanted to hurt you, and now you're being hurt by the things that he said he was going to do. It's something else's fault, which it's always something else's fault too. But I want to go back to the thing where these guys hit the big red button that over the whole country.
They did in the 1990s.
What has gotten us to this point is the mergers and consolidations of ag input suppliers. In 2015, Monsanto and Bayer merged. They were competing against each other. And that was during Obama's administration. They didn't do a thing about that. They let it happen. When I started farming, we had 5 or 6 Arkansas-based seed companies. Monsanto, there's none. They're all owned by Bayer or Pioneer.
In the last 40 years, thousands of seed companies...
I know how to solve this. I'll vote for the party that is openly, aggressively pro-corporation and pro-deregulation. I know Democrats aren't socialists, but the Republicans are so much worse when it comes to... Jesus Christ. Biden's FCC chairwoman, Lena Khan, is actually good about this, preventing corporation, mergers and consolidations and stuff. And you look at that and you're like, nah, I think I'll go with the guys who love mergers, monopolies, unfettered capitalism, and corporate power.
Merged into 3. 46 fertilizer firms have merged into 4. And just 2 farm machinery companies dominate the markets for tractors and combines.
Just for easy numbers, say I'm going to make $500 an acre gross on an acre of whatever. Well, those companies know that, and they will price their stuff up to $490. The lack of competition is the reason
Reminder that John Deere is not only pro-conservative in terms of their corporate values, but they've openly done campaigning work. Didn't Laura Boebert, when she moved over to Colorado 4, literally have John Deere merch at her campaign event? Oh yeah, John Deere is super evil. I don't think for the most part Democrats are campaigning with them.
Can keep those prices inflated, and there's nothing we can do about it.
That ability to raise prices is a big part of why, while farmers are just breaking even, major input companies maintain steadily high profit margins.
I'm calling whatever the heck is happening in the world of agriculture a bull market of insane proportions.
They're going to push us up to the brink, and then when
Dems in Colorado have a right to repair law that targets John Deere specifically. Yeah, Democrats. God, I am never more pro-Democrat than when I'm listening to a Republican ignorantly list off all the ways in which their vote is making their life worse, yeah, tell this guy that. I'm sorry. I'm assuming this guy voted Republican for reasons that are probably just racists. I apologize. If there's a follow-up question, they're like, who'd you vote for? Oh, I voted for Kamala Harris back in 2024, then I'll have egg on my face, and I'm sorry for that. I am making a few assumptions here, but I'm speaking about a broader archetype of person which this guy shares phenotypical similarities with, broadly.
they tip us over the edge, they're going to go to the taxpayer for the balance. Instead of lowering their prices and taking a cut in their margin, they're just laundering tax money.
Yep.
This is it. That's the old elementary school. All the schools are closed now, but that's what's left of the elementary school.
That looks awful. I'm sorry. Why don't we fix it?
School's completely gone. They demolished it. Had parts stores, restaurants, you know, even just in my lifetime, we've lost a lot.
At least you've got the new Ford F-150.
This was a furniture store, bank. When I was a kid, cotton plant probably had 50.
Also, now all land-owning white male farmers voted for Trump. Now that's like 80% true. Kowalski, this is the last time you're getting this glaze from me, but I could clock you as a non-Trump voter on seeing you because you're handsome. Sorry, we all know, we've seen a bunch of these farming videos. You posted your shit to Insta and you look like a... It's like when conservatives will post like a picture of a white family and be like, this is what we're fighting for. And you look at them and you know, just like that family you're looking at, those are New England Democrats. Those are New England Democrats. Both of the parents are post-graduate educated. And they would laugh. Like, we know what conservative aesthetics are, okay? There's a reason cons are always trying to ape that New England American flag banner hanging off of every fence post kind of vibe, and it's because they wish they lived in communities like that. But you know what? I feel the same way about conservatives that they do about Somalis or whatever. You know, you bring your culture with you. If all the conservatives in Kansas moved over to New England wouldn't look like New England for long, would it? No, because they bring their boats with them, wouldn't they?
15 or 1,600 people in it. The difference is, when I was a kid, there was probably 40 or 50 farmers around here. Well, now there's just like 4 or 5 of us left. And every time one of them goes out of business, that's less business for the parts store, that's less business for the restaurants. So every time consolidation happens, rural America dies a little bit more.
I would simply not live in a city called Cotton Plant. That's true. Yeah, for sure.
Since 1997, the U.S. has lost over 300,000 farms and now has fewer farms than ever in its history. In a functioning market, farmers with high input costs could just raise their selling prices. But on the selling side, they're getting squeezed just as hard by their buyers, the companies that control the global grain trade.
There's really about 4 big grain companies.
Ben Lilliston is a...
Wait, okay, hold on. That's not necessarily a monopolization problem. There are just other countries competing in terms of grain production. Like, even if you didn't have monopolies here, which we do, but even if you didn't, like, you would still have trouble raising your prices because there are other countries with other farmers that are producing it at a lower cost.
Farm and trade policy analyst who's looked at the
Other
influence...
countries support their farmers, we don't. We do, though. We support our farmers quite a bit. It's just a fundamentally broken system.
Of big grain companies like Cargill, Bunge, and Archer Daniels Midland.
These 4 big grain companies control almost 80% of the market in the U.S., and in many regions of the country, there's only 1 or 2 of them. Farmers are relatively weak players in the system, price takers in economic terms, meaning they have to take the price that the grain company offers.
We cannot negotiate with a buyer like ADM or Cargill and say, no, $10 isn't good enough, I'll give you my soybeans for 12. They'll just go, well, okay, get out, go on then.
That is how buying things works, yeah? Guy, he's complaining about a fundamental component of the market, which is that buyers set the price they're comfortable buying at. Can you imagine any other field getting away with talking like this? The up thing, man, like we sell like toy cars, you know, but if we make the toy car more expensive, people don't want to buy it as much. I don't know, man. It sounds like that's kind of how the economy works a little bit.
We have leverage against nobody. We are under monopoly rule.
They used to negotiate price like 15 years ago. Yeah, because we've always coddled them. Like, what I'm saying is, it doesn't make any sense to have this be market driven anyway. None of this should be, the government should just, it should all be the government. The government should manage this. That would completely fix the profit motive bullshit. They could just handle it. And these farmers could just focus on farming.
On the input and the output side.
The global grain companies buy crops from farmers often below cost and turn them into processed food, animal feed, and biofuels.
They want as much product on the market as they possibly can get. They don't want any limitations, and they want to pay prices as cheap as they possibly can when they're buying corn or soy or whatever.
For decades, they've lobbied for free trade deals that allow them to move crops across borders without cost, claiming this will...
We're doing the slopulism thing again. We're doing slopulist, protectionist policies. Guys, your problem here is capitalism. You can't fix this by just indefinitely protecting domestic production over and over. That's what we're already doing. Yeah, is More Perfect Union pro-tariff? Is More Perfect Union's argument here that it would be better if we just had more tariffs and more subsidies?
benefit American farmers.
We think trade, whether it be NAFTA or elsewhere, is a good thing, and the American agricultural economy has benefited significantly since NAFTA was put in place.
It's been sold to farmers that we're going to control global markets and this is going to lift prices for you and make it very profitable for you. Unfortunately, that hasn't actually worked. It's actually been a race to the bottom.
Wow, shocking. It's almost like every other base commodity production process on Earth.
American farmers now find themselves in competition with farmers in Argentina and Brazil to sell their soybeans. For many years, China...
Pardon me for being a capitalist, by the way. I think the fact that the global price of food has dropped is a good thing. I think it would be a bad thing if the global price of food increased because American farmers who already get a bunch of subsidies wanted more money for their grain than buyers were initially willing to buy for. I think it's probably good that overall food is less expensive than ever before.
Was their biggest buyer. But since Trump's trade wars began, China has pivoted to South America. That's been bad for U.S. farmers, but not for the global grain companies like Cargill, which is among the...
And also not for global grain consumers, because the price has gone down. That's a good thing. It's good.
Biggest agricultural exporters in Argentina and Brazil.
Their interest is very different than a national interest like the United States, our interest, or even a community level interest.
What?
So far,
what? Oh no, you don't understand. When Argentina's farmers sell their grain, they're doing it for nefarious reasons, they're for spooky reasons. Unlike when our farmers sell their grain, which are for noble American reasons.
Trump administration has not followed through this year with an aid package for farmers. But in October, Trump's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced that the U.S. would extend a $40 billion financial lifeline to prop
Seriously,
up...
is More Perfect Union pro-tariff and pro-subsidy? Is this the line they're coming out with? Well, as a lefty YouTube channel, my position is we should just give more tax dollars to farmers and not address any of the underlying...
Argentina and its government led by Javier Milei.
I mean, we bailed out my competition. I mean, they're my competition. And we sent taxpayer dollars to them like it was no big deal and hurt my market. Milei is big.
Yeah, that must be really tough for you. I know we've spent so many tax dollars subsidizing you specifically. It must have hurt to see those tax dollars go to subsidize somebody else.
Buddies with our current administration. The biggest investors in Argentina are big buddies with Bessent. I mean, they worked together for years.
Bessent, a former hedge fund manager, owns thousands of acres of U.S. farmland, from which he has earned around $1 million a year.
China has been boycotting American soybeans. Do you see a real light at the end of the tunnel there?
Well, Martha, in case you don't know it, I'm actually a soybean farmer, so I have felt this pain.
Most authentically rugged American farmer. When you hear somebody say I'm a farmer, what they mean is they own land.
When Trump and Scott Bessent say we're for the farmers, we love the farmers, I'd say same thing that my papa and everybody's always told me. Don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. It's that simple. What have they done to help us at all?
Trump's Justice and Agriculture departments recently announced a joint...
More Perfect Union, please, I'm begging you. I know at least one of the people who works for your team knows who I am. Probably a lot of them. Please, in your videos, take positions. Have positions. Take a stand. You can't do this what happens after you get a bunch of ad revenue and a bunch of disillusioned conservatives come and watch your channel? They're like, yeah, you're right. They don't care about us. What solutions are you leading them to? What outcomes are you trying to get from this? Because so far, the implication from this video, the feeling that I'm getting is that what you're advocating for is a continuation of the existing system, which is just defer more and more subsidies to compensate for the fact that a lot of our grain production is not competitive in the global market. You know, and if you want to say more, okay, you're anti-John Deere, that's great. Sure, the Trump administration is bad. Great, sure. Say it then and propose solutions.
Investigation into high input costs and the relationship to corporate consolidation of the farm economy. But it's just the latest in over a decade of similar federal investigations that have failed to stop mergers or break up existing monopolies.
Even if there wasn't a monopoly, that this wouldn't fix the underlying issue, though. Even if there was all the like the grain buyers in America, there were 500 of them. You know, it wasn't all one big company. That wouldn't change the fact that at the end of the day, you're still competing with the market price that is set largely by foreign producers. And if you're doing that, like, it doesn't really matter. All those individual grain buyers would still have to buy at market price or arbitrarily decide to charge more for all of the down end products that they're using that grain to make, just so they can buy it from you specifically. Or in other words, protectionism, which would lead to increased costs for everything in this country. That would be bad for American consumers. So in other words, it would be a policy that impoverishes nearly every American for the benefit of the small percentage of Americans that are farmers. Does that seem sane to you?
The first thing we need to address is no competition. Because when there's no competition, I have no option, and I have to take whatever these people are willing to give me.
If the Trump administration responds to this crisis with another toothless antitrust investigation, another farm bailout, and another Band-Aid deal with China, nothing will fundamentally change for American farmers.
We're probably going to have to break up those companies. And I think that's the larger story. Is this really a resilient farm system? Or should we be thinking differently about maybe not overproducing so much for export and start to think about producing more food that Americans actually eat and diversifying what people produce? We used to have more of a supply management system, but we've gotten rid of that.
Supply management is the name for policies that establish price floors for important crops so that farmers don't have to fear operating at a loss year after year.
Give us a price.
Why even operate on the private market if you're going to have a price floor? What is the point? Literally, what is the point? Like, the government is getting all of the downsides of owning these farms with none of the upsides.
Price floor, which makes us performance-based. So if you guarantee me $12.50 a bushel for my beans, it costs $11.50 to raise them. You've guaranteed me $1 a profit on the bushels, right? Then it's on me to go do the work. I go make.
Meanwhile, every single product made with those beans will be more expensive because we're arbitrarily jacking up the price here so that you get the money rather than them buying from foreign producers who can make it for cheaper.
Make the bushels so that I increase my profit. Would that not make more sense? Would that not kind of end the bailout program if you had a floor?
But the big ag companies hate this.
No, because they want us beholden to them.
Cargill and ADM is forced to pay farmers fairly in the market versus taxpayers having to subsidize.
One study found that a supply
It's insane. Yeah, we should force grain buyers to have to take these American products at a loss or jack up the price all the way down. This is insane. This is like economic Lysenkoism. It makes absolutely no sense. It is designed to impoverish everyone. We're just doing like a loop of tariffs and protectionism that's designed to eat up more taxpayer money. Why can't we just talk about nationalizing the farms?
Management system could have saved taxpayers nearly $100 billion in farm aid payments.
Well, don't worry, because they make it back up spending more money on everything made with soybeans
over 2 decades. Instead, that money largely flowed through farmers to some of the world's largest corporations.
We need to think about what's best for farmers, what's best for rural communities, the workers in the system, and consumers. And right now we have a system that's what's best for global grain companies, global meat companies, and the input suppliers.
Thanks so much for watching our video.
Again, I'm sorry. I am in favor. I think it's good that grain prices have gotten lower globally. I think that's good. I think it's good that the international proletariat has unprecedentedly easy access to grain. Price of meat should rise, though. Yes, the cost of meat should rise.